Isha, and I welcome you all to this online class. Well, children, as the whole country is in lockdown due to this coronavirus pandemic, we all are staying indoors. There are no schools and no classes. But, my dear children, one thing we should remember that studies must go on. And this is the reason our respected principal sir has taken this initiative to provide online classes to all of you. And my dear children, we strongly believe that if you study hard, if you do good, then automatically the good life will follow you. So, my dear children, today we will start our online class with the first chapter of the book First Flight, A Letter to God, written by G.L.Fuentes. But before that, please make sure that you have your notes copy and pen with you so that you can note down the important lines or word meanings, whatever come across. Now let's start the chapter. First of all, I would like to give you a brief introduction of the author of this chapter, that is G.L. Fuentes. G.L. Fuentes, Gregorio Lopez Fuentes, born on November 17, 1897, was a Mexican novelist, poet, and journalist. He was one of the leading chroniclers of the Mexican Revolution. He was awarded the National Prize of Arts and Sciences in the year 1935. So that was a brief introduction about the author, G.L. Fuentes. Now let's move on to the chapter, A Letter to God. They say faith can move mountains. This phrase is a shortened form of what Jesus Christ said in the Bible. Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. But what should we put our faith in? This is the question this story delicately poses. This is very true that if you have faith, you can move mountains. But this chapter talks about what should we put our faith in. Lencho is a farmer who writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined, asking for 100 pesos. Does Lencho's letter reach God? Does God send him the money? Think what your answers to these questions would be, and guess how the story continues before you begin to read it. So students, this chapter is about a farmer whose name is Lencho, and he writes a letter to God when his crops are completely destroyed. He writes a letter to God asking for 100 pesos. Peso is actually the currency of several Latin American countries. As we know that the currency of our country is rupee, so peso is the currency of several Latin American countries. When I say Latin American countries, I mean Mexico is there, Chile is there, then we have Brazil. So all these countries, they come under this Latin American countries. So what happened? He wrote a letter to God and he asked for 100 pesos. But the big question is, does Lencho's letter reach God? Does God send him the money? So it's a Wonderful question. He wrote a letter, but actually, what do you think about this? Can somebody write a letter to God? Is it possible? And do you believe that God send money to somebody? Is it possible? It is possible. But personally, he would come and he would deliver that money. It is not possible. Maybe he would, work in somebody's heart and he would, encourage somebody to do that, But he personally would never do that. But answers of all these questions are given in this chapter when we go deep into this chapter. So, my dear children, without much delay, let's start this wonderful chapter, A Letter to God. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. Now, what happens in the beginning of this story? We see that there was a house, and that was the only house in the entire valley. Valley, basically, valley, it is the lowland between two mountains or hills, okay? So, in that entire valley, there was only one house, and that house was on the top of a hill. What do you mean by a hill? Hill, it is actually an elevated location smaller than a mountain. As you can see in this picture, so it is a beautiful picture. You can see the valley and you can see this house. So somewhere, that house was very similar to this one that is shown on your screen. So what happened? From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. And just, from that height, one could see the river and at the same time the field of ripe corn. Dotted means well decorated with the flowers. Okay, ripe corn, ripe means something that is ready to be eaten. So everything was looking very beautifully, and it promised a good harvest. Okay, and what even by harvest? The time of the year when the crops are collected. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. The field was looking very beautiful, the corns, everything were fully prepared, the flowers were looking very beautiful. The only thing that field required was a downpour, or at least a shower. Okay, downpour means heavy rain, and a shower means, you know, light fall of rain. So throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately means very closely, okay, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So literally, he was doing nothing but simply looking at the sky towards the northeast. He was expecting something. He was looking for something. What was that? Very obvious. He was looking for a rain. Now, we are really going to get some water, woman. Now he's talking to his wife and he's saying to his wife that now we are really going to get some water. Water here means rain. The woman who was preparing supper replied, "Yes, God willing." And that woman means his wife. She was actually preparing supper. Supper, basically, evening meal. That evening meal is called supper. So she replied, "Yes, God willing, if God's grace is there, definitely it would rain." The older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all. Now, The children, the elder ones, they were working in the field, and the younger ones, they were playing near the house. And that woman, means Lenchu's wife, she called all of them, okay, come for dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. So, as a few minutes back Lencho predicted means to say that something will happen in future. So, as Lencho predicted, big drops of rain began to fall, means it started raining. In the northeast, huge mountains of cloud could be seen approaching. Huge mountains of cloud could be seen coming, okay? The air was fresh and sweet. The atmosphere was very pleasant. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. Lencho was literally looking for a rain, and when he saw that big drops of rain falling on the ground on his field, he became so happy that without any reason he went out to feel that rain. Okay, and when he returned, he exclaimed. Okay, so when he returned, he exclaimed. Exclaimed literally means, it's an expression, okay, of surprise. So when he returned, he says, these are not raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives. So when he returned back, he started comparing those raindrops with the coins, and he started saying that, these big drops of rains, you know, are 10-cent pieces. He started comparing big drops of rains, okay, to 10-cent pieces, and the little drop of rains for him were 5-cent pieces. He was literally, you know, comparing these raindrops with money, because this rain was badly required for that field, and that was literally giving him immense pleasure. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. So he was very happy, he was very satisfied. What he was expecting, that thing was happening. He was expecting a rain, and it was raining. So he regarded the field. Regarded means a feeling of admiration. Okay, so he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. Draped means covered, okay? So literally he was watching, his field. He was so happy, and with a feeling of admiration, he was literally enjoying the rain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. Well, initially the rain was fine, but after a few moments, what happened? Suddenly a strong wind began to blow. And along with that strong wind, what happened? Large hailstones began to fall. Okay, these hailstones means small hard balls of ice that fall from the sky like rains. Okay, you can see in this picture, these are called hailstones. So it started on, okay, falling. These truly did resemble new silver coins. As we saw earlier, that he was comparing that big raindrops with the money, and now what happened? Literally, these hailstones, when they were falling, they were looking like new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. Now the boys, the children, they were very excited to see these hailstones. They ran out of their house to collect the frozen pearls. Pearls means, that is something that is used to make jewelry. So these, small hard balls of ice, they were looking like pearls. It is really Getting bad now, exclaimed the man. Now Lencho was a bit upset. He was not expecting this hailstone. He was expecting a downpour. He was expecting a shower, but not at all this hailstone. I hope it passes quickly. Now he was expecting, okay, that it would pass quickly. But what happened? It did not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white as if covered with salt. So what happened? This hailstone, it continued for an hour, and literally the whole field was covered with those hailstones, and it was literally looking as if it was covered with salt. Not a leaf remained on the trees. See what is the condition. All the leaves fell on the ground. The corn was totally destroyed. Now this hailstone completely destroyed his cornfield. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. The man who was very happy and was expecting a rain for his cornfield, now his heart was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the midst of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing." So the destruction was so severe that he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locust would have left more than this." A plague of locust. Plague of locust means a huge destruction caused by the locusts. What are locusts? Locusts are flying insects that move in large groups, eating and destroying large quantities of plants. Okay, so I'll show you that picture of locust. Well, as you can see on your screens, so this is a picture of a locust. Okay, and what happens when these locusts attack any field in groups? Okay, so definitely heavy destruction is caused. You can see on your screens, uh, so many locusts, literally, they are very, very, very harmful for the crops, especially. Now what is happening here? Now literally Lencho is so depressed that he's saying that even, these locusts would have left something, but now this hailstone has completely destroyed us. That night was a sorrowful one. That night was a very, very depressing night for all of them. All our work for nothing. Whatever hard work they did throughout the year, all went in vain. There is no one who can help us. Now Lencho was so sad. Now he's saying that nobody can help him. We will all go hungry this year. Now his whole crop has been destroyed. Now what will happen? As the whole crop is destroyed, now he won't get any money. Now what will happen? The whole year they will go hungry. So my dear children, this was all from today's class. So today we have discussed up to this, and we will discuss the rest of the chapter in the coming videos. But before that, I would like to note down a few questions. As you can see on your screens, 4 questions are there, and we have gone through the answers of all these 4 questions in the so far paragraphs. Whatever we have completed so far, the answers are there. The very first question is, what did Lencho hope for? Please note it down. The first question is, what did Lencho hope for? Second, why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? The third question, how did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? And the last question, what were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? So these four questions will be a homework for all of you. So please write down the answers of this question, and in the next video, first of all, we will discuss all these four questions, and after that we'll move on with the rest of the portion of that chapter. Till then, my dear children, take care of yourself and your family members. Stay indoors, stay safe. God bless you all. Take care.